Hey y'all, Southern Sleuth here, and back at it again with the next installment of your bedroom aesthetic based on which Nancy Drew game is your aesthetic. This time we are in the Golden Era, described by Carter Plays as some of the biggest fan favorites. Find his video in the description box. This is games 7 through 13. These games have very specific locations with some romantic and beautiful scenery which led to some really fun bedroom finds. First up is Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake, which happens to be my favorite game. It also happens to be my aesthetic, so I included my bedroom in these pictures. Can you figure out which photo is my bedroom? I would like to add more on the walls, but I did my best to give it a warm cabin feel. Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake is all about cabin core vibes with wood inside and out. The bedrooms are cozy, characterized by reds, greens, plaids with mixed fabrics. These bedrooms are inviting and a perfect place to climb under the covers and hide from the ghost dog howls, maybe with your own dog. It's very Lilo approved. Haunted Carousel is practically on the opposite end of dog. Think artsy, bright, whimsical, lots of trinkets. Coastal, since we do have the water animal theme, but more orange and teal, yellow and purple versus the normal light blue and beige beach room. And because it was adorable, I had to add it. Look at the Carousel nursery. People whose aesthetic is the Haunted Carousel live for the thrill, and their bedroom's always fun. It's an exciting place to be. Never a lack of decor to look at or a carousel music box to wind up. And if you are on the artsy side of things, I can only imagine the different color swatches that might be on your wall as you continuously change up your space with all of your color options. Still beachy, but much more muted, is Danger on Deception Island. If this is your aesthetic, you probably have, or have always wanted to, have a bedroom with coastal vibes and blues and beiges, exactly what we talked about in Haunted Carousel with the coastal vibes. Maybe with even some nods to the environment by using recycled pieces and no fast fashion. When people walk into your room, they can almost hear the sounds of the sea. You might even have one of those little glass dolphin statues that we all try to get our parents to buy us at the beach as kids. Very serene, very lovely. Still animal-centric, but now headed back to land, we have those whose aesthetic is Secret of Shadow Ranch. If you didn't want to be a horse girl in the early 2000s, you're lying. These ranch aesthetics are characterized by what I like to call sunset colors and geometric patterns. It's also very likely you have at least one picture of that Highland cow in your room. I will even accept some cow print in there too. Cow print bed. Who knows? Maybe you have a diary under your mattress, filled with entries about a rebellious outlaw your daddy said to stay away from. That star quilt bedspread picture, that's my guest room with the barn picture behind it. And yes, there is a Highland cow mama and baby painting on the other wall. Another huge favorite of so many people is Curse of Blackmore Manor. If this is your aesthetic, you probably wrote poetry as a teenager. The bedroom of these people fills the aesthetic of dark academia with rich, dark colors, plants, and tapestries. So many tapestries. Taking inspiration from Bridget's room, I chose rooms with deep royal blues, goldenrod yellows, and rich reds. But didn't forget the more muted side of it with the faded tapestries and simple orange and taupes. Also, I had to add that picture with the wall with the bird because Lulu deserves her shout out. There are also books all abound in the bedroom of a Curse of Blackmore Manor lover, whether or not they've actually been read. Your aesthetic definitely involves plenty of plants because you must feed them their nummies. I heard the term whimsigoth, however you say that, whimsical gothic, thrown around, and now I can't get that out of my head for Curse of Blackmore Manor. I think it suits. Very opposite from Curse of Blackmore Manor are those whose aesthetic is Secret of the Old Clock. While still on the vintage side, Clock is characterized by soft pastel palettes. I found a 1930s aesthetic called kitschy, I can't pronounce anything today. Kitschy, kitschy, but it fits the overall vibe of Clock if you look it up. It's old photographs, vintage lamps, flowers, vintage toys, lacy pillows, cute baskets, somewhat of a shabby chic vibe. It's vintage and sweet and definitely reminds you of the smell of fresh baked pies. A bedroom like this would have a lace ruffle and little flowers painted on the dresser. This type of bedroom would also be filled with various crafts such as embroidery, quilt making, and knitting. Is that your childhood stuffed animal I see in the corner? Vintage yet again, but still a little bit more on the dark antique side, is Last Train to Blue Moon Canyon. Those who favor this aesthetic want a bedroom that is moody, with lots of jewel colors. Amethyst theme room, anyone? The bed frame and furniture are likely an old wooden matching set, maybe even a sleigh bed. Velvet jewel tone curtains also top off this look, especially with some matching throw pillows. Don't like the jewel tone look? Your other option, still antique, is lots of browns, old suitcases, perhaps even a brick accent wall behind your headboard with the decorations from all your world travels littered all over your dresser. If you haven't traveled much, then the trinkets remind you of all the places you want to go. And that's the golden eras. I'm still not a designer, but these games fell more into some aesthetics that I'm familiar with. So which game do you consider to be your aesthetic? Does your bedroom match the vibe of these bedrooms, or do you wish it did? Keep on the lookout for the next era, the experimental era. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking it and giving me a follow. You can also find